In this video, we will find out the sort and cost curves, sort and cost functions for a given production technology. So we will use the production technology we had deployed earlier. So let's look at Q being equal to 3 times K times L. We are in the short run, so we will need to fix capital. I will fix capital at 5 units. Let's also take the rent per unit of capital. R is $2 per unit. So the production technology in the short run is Q equal to 3 times 5 times L, turns out to be 15L. This gives me the amount of labor needed to produce an output Q, or I could write it as L equal to Q over 15. I obtained this by dividing the shortened production function by 15. Now I will also assume the wage rate for the labor to be $30 per unit, which means if I look at the variable cost of producing output Q, variable cost, this is the amount I have to spend on the wage bill, which is the wage rate W multiplied by amount of labor input needed to produce output Q. So I have $30 per unit. I want to produce an output of Q. Labor input is Q over 15, gives me 2 times Q as the variable cost. My fixed cost is the rent per unit, which is $2 per unit, times the amount of capital, fixed amount of capital, which was 5. So I have $10 as my fixed cost. Here I add these two to obtain the total cost, sum of fixed cost plus the variable cost. 10 plus 2Q is the total cost. This is the cost of producing output Q. Now I could also compute the average fixed cost, which is the fixed cost divided by the output Q, 10 over Q. The average variable cost, which is the variable cost divided over Q, and variable cost was given as 2Q. I divided by Q, I get 2. I could add these two to find out the average cost, which is also sometimes referred to as average total cost, which is the sum of average fixed cost plus average variable cost, which is 10 over Q, average fixed cost, to average variable cost. At this point, we will also like to compute the marginal cost. So the marginal cost is the change in total cost when I change the output by a small amount. So I write it as change in total cost when I change output by this amount. So let's assume the current output to be given by Q, and we change it by 1 unit. New output is Q plus 1. So I am just increasing the total output by 1 unit, and I'll find out the total cost when output is Q is 10 plus 2Q. Total cost when output is Q plus 1 is 10 plus 2 times Q plus 1, which is 10 plus 2Q plus 2. And so change in total cost is 10 plus 2Q plus 2, that's the new cost, minus 10 plus 2q, that was the original cost, turns out to be 2. Change in output is, so q plus 1 unit is the new output, q is the original 1. And given this, I can compute now the marginal cost is change in total cost divided by change in q, 2 over 1, 2. That's the marginal cost. I will like to draw the total cost, the fixed cost and the variable cost, and I will request you to draw the average variable cost, the average fixed cost and the average cost along with the marginal cost yourself. So let's do the first graph, where I will have quantity on the horizontal and all the costs. So I have the total cost, the fixed cost and the variable cost on the vertical axis. Remember, the fixed cost is a horizontal straight line at the value 10, at the value 10, so that's my fixed cost. And then the variable cost is a straight line with a positive slope of 2q. So now I will draw my variable cost. It's a straight line with positive slope. That's my variable cost. This is my fixed cost, and then the total cost is a parallel shift of the variable cost by 10 units. So I will draw now the total cost, which is a parallel shift of the variable cost by 10 units. So it has the same slope of 2, and that's a good point to stop.